Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Lynch from Massachusetts for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make an observation here. I've been on this committee, this investigating committee, for over 20 years. And as an attorney before that, I've had sufficient training and experience to say that with high confidence that when you review the entire record of evidence of these hearings going back over a year, you've actually provided more evidence to impeach Donald Trump for a third time than you have in so much as laying a glove on President Biden. We keep on hearing about the Biden family. When you hear someone say the Biden family, that translates into we have no evidence on the president, so we're going to use the Biden family to try to implicate President Biden. But by the constant bumbling and continually shifting arguments here, you've done nothing more than exonerate President Biden. We heard initially for months, we heard about the Hunter Biden laptop. And, there were absolutely some embarrassing photos on that and some awful information about Hunter Biden's personal life. I will admit that. Then you bring in your own witnesses, your legal experts before this committee and have them testify. And what they said was amazing. They said there was no evidence to even suggest that there was support for articles of impeachment against the president. That was your legal experts, the Republican legal experts that said that. Then we have statements by Mr. Jordan saying that Mr. Smirnov was the most corroborating witness that the Republicans had, the strongest witness that they had. And, of course, after that, we find out through the Trump-appointed prosecutor that all of the information that Mr. Smirnov had provided was fabricated, false, and submitted by the inducement of Russian agents going after President Biden and trying to undermine our democratic system. And now we come to a point where, since that witness blew up, now we're going to prison, and we're reaching out to witnesses who have been convicted and sentenced to prison for stealing $80 million from the pensions of innocent workers. We can't get any lower at this point. That's your star witness. I want to remind people he's sitting in prison. That's why he can't be here today. He's sitting in prison for scamming workers' pensions. I mean, how low can you get? Then it's the Republicans' idea that this is the best guy they can get to testify against the president. This is the best guy they can get. A guy sitting in prison who can't even be here. Mr. Parnas, you've talked about your own direct involvement with Mr. Giuliani, and you said that your mission was to dig up dirt on President Biden. Can you talk to us about the coordination between yourself and Mr. Giuliani? Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Congressman. So basically, it was a shadow diplomacy run by Trump and Giuliani, where Giuliani was the shadow diplomacy Secretary of State. I was his right hand and basically the point person in Ukraine to not only dig up, validate, search, whatever needed to be done to try to find up some corruption against Joe or Hunter Biden to be able to present. Once I would receive whatever information I received, I would then meet with him, John Solomon, other members of the team like Pete Sessions and Derek Harvey or other people there to discuss what we found. At that point, from there, Giuliani would then go to the White House and share with the president. And that was the line of communication.
You said also in your testimony that members of this committee, the Republican leadership, should have known before Smirnov was indicted that this information was fabricated about President Biden. Could you talk about that?
Congressman Lynch, not that they should have known, they did know. They knew exactly what was going on. They knew that the evidence was not vetted. This information was just coming in from anywhere from left, right field, and it was being pushed straight to the halls of Congress without zero verification of it.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Gentlemen-
Chairman, my time has expired, and I
Gentlemen-
go back.
Gentleman's time's expired. Before I recognize Mr. Palmer, I'd like to enter into the record the testimony of Tony Bobulinski with the committee on February 13th, 2024. It corrects the record of Representative Garcia's, who did not provide your entire testimony. On page 147, you told the committee about your understanding of who invited you to the events referenced by Mr. Garcia. So without objection, I'd like to enter into the record the entire transcribed interview of Tony Bobulinski.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter for the record an article from today's Daily Beast entitled "Texts Reveal More Russia Ties for Key Anti-Biden Witness Bobulinski."
Okay, Daily Beast. Without objection. Chair now recognizes Mr. Palmer from Alabama for 5 minutes.
Mr. Bobulinski, I have very limited time, and I want to get through a lot of information, so please answer these questions with a yes or no, if you don't mind. You have met Joe Biden, isn't that correct?
Correct.
In fact, you had a meeting with Joe Biden, isn't that correct?
2 of them.
One of those times was before the Milken Conference in Los Angeles, May of 2017, is that correct?
It was during the Milken Conference.
You provided a great deal of documentation to this committee. I want to show you some messages between you and Hunter Biden, be on the screen here, in May of 2017 before you first had a meeting with Joe Biden. These are messages between you and Hunter Biden dated May 2nd, 2017. Do you recognize these?
I do.
At the bottom, Hunter wrote, "Dad, not in now until 11. Let's me and Jim meet at 10 at Beverly Hilton where he's staying." Jim is James Biden, President Biden's brother. Is that correct?
Correct.
The next set of messages is, if you put those on screen, is between another business associate of Hunter Biden's and you. His name is James. Do you recognize it?
I do.
At the top, you write, "About to meet Hunter, Jim, and I guess Joe at Beverly Hilton Hotel." Joe is now President Joe Biden. Is that correct?
Correct.
This chat between you and Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother, you write to Jim, "Great to meet you and spend some time together. Please thank Joe for this time. It was great to talk. Thanks, Tony B." You met with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Jim Biden the night before the Milken Conference in 2017. Is that correct?
I did, and Jim Biden perjured himself by trying to deny that
Thank you,
meeting.
Mr. Bobulinski. That was at the Beverly Hilton, correct?
Correct.
You can provide more details around that meeting. What was the purpose of that meeting?
I didn't ask for the meeting, so I wish Hunter Biden was sitting next to me and he could under oath describe it. But the only reason why I was meeting with Joe Biden and the only reason why I was there is because I was the CEO of the enterprise that they were putting together with the Chinese company CFC.
So can you give me a little more detail about what was discussed in the meeting?
Well, as I said earlier, before Joe Biden showed up, Hunter and Jim Biden coached me, said a sort of outline that we wouldn't go into a lot of details. So through the 45 to 60-minute meeting I had with Joe Biden, I think it was about 10:40 p.m. after he flew across country, we talked about my background, my family's military background, the different business ventures I'd done around the world, the family I worked with. Joe spent time talking about his family, some of the tragedies that they had lived through. And at a high level, Hunter actually introduced me to Joe because before Joe came and sat down with us, Hunter said, "Hey, give me 5 to 10 minutes. I need to read my father in on it."
So when you're referencing Joe and Hunter's father, you're referencing President Joe Biden,
I am.
correct? These 4 images, well, in this message you sent to James again, you said you spent more time with Joe and Jim this morning, and to be factually correct, that's President Joe Biden and James Biden, his brother. Also saw them last night, including Hunter. These 4 images show a pretty clear record of your meeting with Joe Biden in May of 2017, Mr. Bobulinski. Hunter Biden, during his transcribed interview, testified that the meeting did in fact take place. And after being asked, did Mr. Bobulinski meet with your father during the trip, Hunter stated he met with him in the lobby of the hotel. When asked who attended the meeting, Hunter replied, "My uncle and myself." But when asked whether the meeting at the Beverly Hilton between Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Hunter Biden, and Tony Bobulinski took place, Jim Biden testified, absolutely not. These stories don't match up. Mr. Chairman, Joe Biden Jim Biden also told the committee that Joe Biden did not meet the Chinese businessman Xi Jinping. Rob Walker, by known as a friendly witness committee, said the opposite. So, Mr. Chairman, it appears to me that there are material inconsistencies between the witnesses' testimony. These witnesses' statements appear to me to be irreconcilable. In short, Mr. Chairman, someone appears to be lying to the committee. The inconsistent testimony seems to come from Jim Biden, the president's brother. Lying to Congress is a serious offense, Mr. Chairman, a criminal one, in fact. And if the Bidens or anyone else has come before this committee and lied to this committee, I strongly encourage the committee to pursue criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. One last thing that I want to ask, and Mr. Bobulinski or Mr. Galinas, have either of you heard of any offer of a pardon for anyone involved or associated with or a partner to the Biden family enterprise corruption investigation?
I'm sorry, there was a question. Have I heard
you
anything
heard of anyone being suggested that a pardon might be in order for anyone associated with this enterprise?
I have not.
Thank you, Mr. Bobulinski. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a parliamentary inquiry. We've heard for months now and seen the photo of that BlackBerry with the cracked screen. Does the committee have in its possession the data from Mr. Bobulinski's phone from which he's allegedly taken these pictures? Because I think we need the data that they keep referring to. And maybe Mr. Bobulinski could just turn it over to us, or we could subpoena it today.
We have the images that we have shared with you.
Right, I saw the picture of the cracked BlackBerry, but do we have the underlying texts that are being referred to by my friend Mr. Palmer?
Mr. Bobulinski previously said he'd be happy to turn over his phones.
We have pictures of all the text message screenshots that we've provided with everyone on the committee.
Okay.
And
All right, well, of course, he's just given us, obviously, the ones he's selected. I'm wondering whether we could get all of those texts, and I would move that the committee subpoena Mr. Bobulinski's BlackBerry phone on which messages with Hunter Biden and the Oneida Holdings partners are saved. He stated that he's willing to provide it to the committee, so it should be rather simple.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Okay, there's a motion to subpoena Bobulinski's BlackBerry.
Seconded.
Yeah, with the texts that were just referenced by Mr. Palmer.
Chairman, I move the
Chair recognizes Mr. Jordan.
I move the table the motion.
There's a motion to table.
I request
The motion is to table is not debatable. As many as
Mr.
in
Chairman.
favor of tabling may signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion to table
Well,
is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, what we're doing is we're tabling evidence here, which you keep relying on, so I'm going to ask for a recorded vote for that. That just makes no sense.
A recorded vote is ordered. We'll suspend for a moment. We don't, this is a
Because your people ain't.
committee hearing. We don't have the clerk. Will somebody go find the clerk? I know.
He said it. Did he say under oath in the? Did he say?
Would,
Did he say under?
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Minority Leader, do you think it's possible that the witness would voluntarily just give it?
But I had understood actually that Mr. Bobulinski had volunteered when he was asked about this. It would simplify things if he would just turn it over the BlackBerry.
Well, he did very clearly say he's happy to turn over his BlackBerry to the committee. We then asked for it at the deposition. He didn't. We've asked the majority to ask for
Mr.
it.
Goldman, you're out of order. We're in suspension here waiting for the clerk to come so we can take the vote that your side of the aisle requested.
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't.
This is Jurassic Park. Gee.
Mr. Ranking Member. Mr. Ranking Member.
Yes.
I solely want to underscore the importance of
I'm
this.
sorry, gentlelady's out of order. You can come back here and talk to him if you want.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We don't even have.
You're going to, I said Ms. Ocasio-Cortez would have to come up. You will as well. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, just an invitation to regular order. We have Democratic clerks who are faithful to the rule of law and could do this if you're waiting for clerks. And we'll all be here to watch, to document their work. So, I mean, in other words, if you want to conduct the vote with the Democratic clerks, we can do it.
Well, a recorded vote is ordered. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Jordan. Mr. Jordan votes yes. Mr. Turner. Mr. Gosar. Ms. Fox. Mr. Grothman. Mr. Grothman votes yes. Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud votes yes. Mr. Palmer. Mr. Palmer votes aye. Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins votes yes. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Sessions votes aye. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs votes aye. Ms. Mace. Ms. Mace votes aye. Mr. LaTurner. Mr. LaTurner votes aye. Mr. Fallon. Mr. Donalds. Mr. Donalds votes yes. Mr. Perry. Mr. Timmons. Mr. Timmons votes aye. Mr. Burchett. Ms. Green.
Aye.
Ms. Green votes aye. Ms. McLean. Ms. McLean votes aye. Ms. Boebert. Mr. Fry. Mr. Fry votes aye. Ms. Luna. Mr. Langworthy. Mr. Langworthy votes aye. Mr. Burleson. Mr. Waltz. Mr. Waltz votes aye. Mr. Raskin.
No.
Mr. Raskin votes no. Ms. Norton. Mr. Lynch.
No.
Mr. Lynch votes no. Mr. Connolly.
Nay.
Mr. Connolly votes nay. Mr. Krishnamurthy.
No.
Mr. Krishnamurthy votes no. Mr. Khanna. Mr. Mfume.
No.
Mr. Mfume votes no. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez.
Nay.
Ms. Ocasio-Cortez votes nay. Ms. Porter. Ms. Bush. Ms. Brown. Ms. Stansbury. Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia votes no. Mr. Frost. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee votes no. Mr. Kassar. Mr. Kassar votes no. Ms. Crockett.
No.
Ms. Crockett votes no. Mr. Goldman.
No.
Mr. Goldman votes no. Mr. Moskowitz. Mr. Moskowitz votes no. Ms. Tlaib. Ms. Tlaib votes no. Ms. Presley. Ms. Presley votes no. Mr. Chairman.
I vote yes. And how is Mr. Burleson recorded?
Mr. Chairman votes yes. Mr. Burleson is not recorded. Mr. Burleson votes yes.
How is Ms. Boebert recorded?
Ms. Boebert is not recorded. Ms. Boebert votes aye.
How is Mr. Turner recorded?
Mr. Turner is not recorded. Mr. Turner votes aye.
How is Mr. Frost recorded?
Mr. Frost is not recorded. Mr. Frost votes no.
Porter.
How is Mr. Fallon recorded?
Mr. Fallon is not recorded. Mr. Fallon votes aye.
How is Ms. Porter recorded?
Ms. Porter is not recorded.
No.
Ms. Porter votes no.
Will the clerk tally the report? So who's next? Who do I recognize?
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 21, the nays are 16.
The ayes have it. The motion passes. Chair now recognizes Mr. Connolly